Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a do-it-yourself how-to video for you. Has your Gen 2 Ring doorbell lost its ability to maintain a charge in the charging port? And you look online and you find out that it says that the battery, the rechargeable battery on the inside is not replaceable, but basically you have to buy a whole new Ring doorbell unit? Then stick around. I have a video for you today. If you have that do-it-yourself aptitude and you're willing to dig in a little bit and have some patience, then we can take this apart, and there is a battery that you can replace inside of this. Just takes a little time and patience and a little do-it-yourself aptitude. So let's dive in. Also, first I want to mention that if you already have these wired up to your low voltage doorbell wiring system, then there should never really be a need to dig into this and replace the rechargeable battery, because it's already hooked up to the low voltage, and the low voltage will keep this thing operating all the time. So you should never have to recharge it or anything like that. So if it's already hooked up to here, you don't need to replace that battery because it's already working off from the low voltage unit here. Also, I wanted to mention how to remove this doorbell off from the front of your house. So if you already have it hooked up to your house and it's not charging, then to remove it, then you simply remove these two screws here, which basically remove them from these brackets, and so it'll be on the house like this. And once you remove those two screws on the bottom, then basically you just pull out and it dislodges it from the bracket that's above and these two brackets here. So it's pretty easy to remove. I also wanted to start off and talk about a few of the tools that I'm be using today. So I do have this little wow stick that I've got a while back, and I love this little wow stick. It has all these micro little tips on here. I can't believe how much I've actually used this. You can use this as a regular screwdriver, or it has a light on it, and it also will, of course, be an electric screwdriver, and it works perfectly for those little micro detail things that you want to work on. This, for today's video, we're going to be using this T6 Torx bit to remove these screws that are on the back here. You can also, if you don't want to buy this wow stick, you can also just get a T6 Torx bit screwdriver on Amazon for a couple of $2 or $3, something like that. Not very expensive. But this wow driver is awesome. It has all of these different various bits that you can have here. It has a nice little stand that you can put it in. You can make it magnetic so that it will pick up screws and stuff like that for you. And then it has this nice little magnetic mat here to put tiny little screws on that holds them in place so you don't lose them. So we're going to be using that screwdriver. I'm also going to be using my magnifying glasses here, just so I can see a little bit better, but you don't need those. Those are not necessary. It's just some of my eyesight isn't the best as it used to be. And then some prying picks. So we're going to use a couple of these little prying picks that come with this battery kit that's over here. And I have a couple other prying picks that I might be using as well along the way. So we're going to use these prying picks to remove the back piece of this plastic right here. And of course, here's the battery that you need to replace it. Again, like I said, this is the Gen 2, so you're going to end up needing this model number S1 Ring doorbell battery. You don't want to get the other one that's for the S2. The S2 is for a different model. Don't get that one. This is the one you want, exactly like this. I'll put a link in the description so you can link right straight to it. And again, it comes with those little plastic prying tools over there. On Ring's doorbell website, they have a nice web page that helps identify the first and second generation. Again, the first one is at the top, and the second generation, is at the bottom. And this is the one for this doorbell, so make sure it looks like that. Okay, let's get into it. First thing we have to do is remove all of these 8 screws here, plus these 2 screws. So let's go ahead and get after that. I'm going to use my little magic wow tip. And I like to put them in the order of which I take them off. I'm going to put that one at the bottom. Not that it really matters in this case, but it's just nice. Okay, now that I have these all off, it does take a little bit of pressure to remove this thing. So you basically got to pry it apart, kind of pretty hard and a little bit more forceful, but just use not super forceful, but just enough pressure to slowly but surely pry this apart. And so I'm gonna need a couple hands to do this. Pry it off like that. So we got it off, and we didn't bend it all up or anything like that, but used just enough pressure to kind of get that off like that. So now we have it looking like this, and the next step is to pry this little internal piece of plastic here off. I've already pried this off. It was pretty hard to pry off the very first time I took it off of there. And then there's also a little clip that's right about here, right there on both sides here, that you kind of have to press in on to get this top part. Because I got it this far the first time I pulled it apart, then I couldn't get it any further, and I thought I was going to break it. But what I found was by putting one of these little pry things in there, pry tools in there, I could just push it in like that on both sides, and then it popped off. So I'll show you those clips right there. They look like this right there, and so they go into these little parts right there. So I got it apart without breaking it. So far so good. The next part is the battery. This part was actually the hardest part, trying to get that out of there. They put some sort of foam tape on the back of this battery and then adhere it to the other side of this unit. So the battery didn't want to come out of there for anything. So I started using my little pry tools and got just underneath the battery a little bit, put that in there like that, and turned it and started in a corner and kind of just started prying just a little bit with a lot of force, not too much force, but just the right amount of force. You started hearing it kind of like crinkle in there. You can like, oh, there's tape on the back of that. So you just kind of start pulling it up like this. You start getting a corner loose, then you work it up and you kind of get another little corner loose, just kind of firm but steady pressure on it, pull it. You can see that it is attached right there. So you don't want to pull it so hard that you rip all of that out and break something. So you just eventually kind of pull it up. Then you can get your pry tools in there. And you can kind of loosen the adhesion on the back of it like that until you kind of get it all the way loose, and then it comes up. But you can see inside there where I had the double-sided foam tape that was in there, and it came apart like in pieces and whatnot. So you want to be careful about that. And then this part here is pretty easy to pull off. I try not to get metal things on that while the battery's still good. And you can just peel this little silicone piece off there like that. And I set that aside because I want to put that back on there. So the next step was trying to figure out how this little connector here comes off. Does it come out that way? Does it come out that way? Or does it come out that way? And what I found was it comes out straight up. So I got underneath that with this little pry tool and just pried it straight up. So there you have it. Have the battery out. It wasn't too tough. It was a little bit hard getting the battery out of that with all that foam tape on there. But once we got the battery out, the rest of this is pretty easy peasy. And so then all you have to do is then take the new battery, just put this back in, press it down on that thing, and put it back in there like that, and just reverse order the whole thing. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick, and we'll get this button back up. Okay, now that we have this cover back on, don't forget to put this back on before you screw these in. I did that the first time, so let's not do that. Had to take them back apart again. So put this back on like that and just kind of in reverse order, just kind of put it back on like that. So now we're ready just to put the screws back in and button this thing all up. Make pretty short work of it with this little wow stick here, so I really do like this thing. I've used it more times than I can count. Okay, there we have it, all buttoned up. Nice and pretty again, just like it was brand new. All we got to do is charge up this rechargeable battery now and install it back in the bracket near the door. Just put it back on there, slide it up into its little bracket on the top, push it back in place, and then put those two screws on the bottom again. And that's it. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it helped somebody, because I didn't find any videos out there on how to do this. So hopefully somebody else can find use of this video and figure out how to do it for themselves. It wasn't too tough. It took me about 20 minutes the first time I did it. And now we have a working doorbell again and didn't have to go out and buy another $200 Ring doorbell. So if you like this video, please consider giving it a like and consider subscribing if you like do-it-yourself and how-to kind of content. And I also do a lot of smart home content as well. So thank you very much for watching. Did put some links in the video down below. They do help the channel out a little bit by getting a small commission at no expense to you whatsoever for the Wow Stick. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link into another cheaper T6 Torx screwdriver, a link to some picks, and of course the link to the new battery as well. So please use those if you wouldn't mind. It helps the channel out a lot. Much appreciated. And until next time, have a blessed day.